So this video is to illustrate the working of DNS and DHCP protocols. For that, we're going to build a network using two 2911 routers, and we're going to use two 2960 switches, and we'll connect one PC to each of these networks. Then we'll take one server, and now we'll insert the HWIC2T cards to both the routers for the serial connection. And now we'll make the connections for the topology that we've created. We're using gigabit to connect to the switches from routers, and we'll use fast Ethernet to connect switches to the PCs. And fast Ethernet to connect to the server as well. So we're going to use 10.network to connect the routers, which will be /30. For the first network, we're going to use 192.168.10.network /24. And for the second network, we're going to use 192.168.20.0/24. And we're going to provide the IP address of general server as 192.168.20.2. So first, let's configure the DNS server. We'll go to desktop and we'll fill in the IP address 168.20.2. Subnet mask default gateway would be 20.1. DNS server again 20.2. And then services, will go to HTML. We'll edit this. We'll write welcome to general server, save it, and we'll configure the DNS as well. www.generalserver.com. address is 192.168.20.2. and the CNAME is generalserver.com, and the hostname is www.generalserver.com. And now we'll start with configuring the first router. So we'll go to the CLI and we'll open the configuration mode. First, we'll change the host name to RT1. Then we'll configure the serial port. We'll give the clock rate, and then we'll provide the IP address. No shut. And now we'll configure the GI0/0 port. We'll provide the IP address. No shut. And then we'll configure the IP DHCP pool for router 1. The default route is 192.168.10.1. For the network, 192.168.10.0. and the DNS is 192.168.20.2. IP DHCP excluded addresses would be from 192.168.10.1 to 192.168.10.5. And now for routing, we're going to use EIGRP. For that, we'll use the command router EIGRP. The process ID I'm taking is 1. The networks on this router is 192.168.10.network, and then we'll give the submask for it, and the other network is 10.0 network, and we provide the sum mask for that as well. Then do write memory. Fast forward a bit, and then we'll check if the DHCP is working. So as you can see, DHCP request successful. We'll do the same for router 2 as well. Hostname RT2, interface serial 0/3/0. Since there is no clock on this end, we're not gonna define any clock rate. We're gonna straight away go to IP address, which is 10.0.0.2 255.252, and then no shut. As you can see, the state has changed to up, and then we'll configure the interface gigabit port. We'll provide the IP address 20.1, no shut, and then we'll configure the IP DHCP pool for RT2. Default router is 192.168.20.1. For the network, 192.168.20.0, and the subnet mask is 255.255.255.0. The DNS is 192.168.20.2, and IP DHCP excluded addresses would be from 20.1 to 20.5. And for routing, we're using EIGRP. So EIGRP, we're going to use the same process ID for them to communicate with router 1. So the networks are 192.168.20.network. We'll provide the wildcard mask. And then the other network is 10.network. And to write memory. We'll check if the PC has got the DHCP. So the DHCP is working fine. And now we'll try to ping PC, whose IP address is 10.6, with PC whose IP address is 20.6. So we'll go to the command prompt and we'll write ping 192.168.20.6. As you can see, we're getting a reply, so the connection is working fine. Now we'll try to see if it is able to connect to the server whose IP is 20.2. So we'll go to the command prompt again, and we'll write 20.2. And as you can see, we're getting the reply from the server as well. So we'll check if the website that we configured is working or not. So we'll write general server.com, and you can see that the website is running. So that means we have configured both DHCP and DNS together.
Hello sir, my name is Kabir, and so today I'm going to implement access lists on composite network. So access lists are basically of two types. The first one is standard access lists, which permit or deny any packets based on the source IPv4, and the other one is extended access lists, which permit or deny packets based on the source IPv4 address and destination, IPv4 address protocol type, source and destination of TCP or UDP ports, etc. So as you can see, I already have a composite network in which I have three 2911 routers named as router Chandigarh, router Ludhiana, and router Jalandhar. These routers are further connected to three switches: switch 1, switch 2, switch 3, to which further 3 PCs are connected. So this one is for sales, this one is for marketing, and this one is for finance. And then similarly, this one is for sales, marketing, finance, and sales, marketing, and finance. Okay, so other than this, we further have 4 servers, namely named as general server, sales server, marketing server, and finance server, which are connected to switch 3. So in this particular practical, I'm going to implement extended access lists on this network, which I have already configured. So at first, we will see that if the sales PC1 can access all the sites from the server, so we will open a web browser in access in PC1. So yeah, and now we will type in the IP address for the sales website, which is 192.168.12.2, and we'll click on go. So as you can see that we can access the sales website from the sales PC. Now we will check if this sales PC can access the marketing websites too. So we will put in the IP address of the marketing website. So that is 192.168.22.2. Okay, so we can also access the marketing website. Now we'll see that if we can access the finance website as well. So we'll type in 192.168.32.2, which is the IP address of the finance website. So we can also access the finance server, but we don't want this because we only want the sales PC to access only the sales server, but not the marketing and finance server. Okay, so firstly, we start by implementing ACLs on sales department, and as extended ACLs are implemented closer to the source, so we select a router Chandigarh and open the CLI. Yeah. Okay. So now we type in enable, and we type in conf, which is the configuration terminal. And now what we need to do is that we need to remark sales, and for that we type in ACC 100 REM for sales. So this is basically marking sales, and then we press enter. Now we like what we want to do is that we want sales PC of 10 dot network, that is this PC7 should access the sales PC of 11 dot network and 12 dot network, which is PC 10 and 13 here. So for that, what we need to do is we need to type in command ACC 100 permit IP 192.168, sorry, 192.168.10.0, and then we enter the wildcard mask. So that is 0.0.0.255, and then we enter the IP address of the PC that we need to access. Okay, so that is 192.168.11.0, and then we enter the wildcard mask of that 0.0.0.255. Okay, we need to give us, yeah, okay, so we press enter. Okay, that is done. Now we will do the same thing for the 12 dot network PC. So we will type in ACC 100 permit IP 192.168.10 dot, sorry, dot 10 dot 0, and then we enter the wildcard mask, which is same 0.0.0.255, and then we enter the IP address of the 12 dot network. So 192.168.12.0, and then again the wildcard mask 0.0.255. Okay, so now we press enter. Okay, so this is done. So now what we want is that we want the sales PC to access the general server too, and so for that we need to allow the 100 dot network as well. So for that we type in ACC 100 permit IP. Okay, So we enter the IP address, that is 192.168.10.0. So the IP address of the 10 dot network, and then we enter the wildcard mask, which is 0.0.0.255, and then we enter the address of the IP address of the general server. So that is 100.100.100.0, and then again we enter the wildcard mask, that is 0.0.0.255. Okay, and then you press enter. Okay, so that is done. Now we have allowed the access to all the necessary IP addresses, but we also want like the 10 dot network to allow the access to the website. So for that, we will type in ACC 100 permit. Okay, so we will type in now TCP 192.168.10.0, and then now we enter the wildcard mask, that is 0.0.0, sorry, 0.0.0.255. Okay, and then what we write is, we'll write host 100.100.0 eq.www. So this is basically like allowing us to access the website www. Okay, and then we press enter. Okay, so that is done. Now with that being said, it is also important for us to allow access to the https, and for that we have a different command. Okay, so we type in acc 100 permit. Okay, so that is tcp 192.168.10.0, and then the wildcard mask as usual, 0.0.0.255. Okay, and then we write in host 100.100.100.0, and we write eq 443. So basically this 443 represents the https. Okay, we press enter. Okay, so now we have allowed all the like now we now need to also allow all the UDP traffic, and we need to deny the IP, the unnecessary IP addresses, and the unnecessary TCP traffic. So we have three commands for that. So to permit to permit the UDP traffic, we type in ACC 100 permit UDP any. Okay, and similarly we'll type in ACC deny IP any. Okay, oops. So that is ACC 100 deny IP any. Yeah, and lastly we have ACC 100 deny TCP any. So this will like these deny commands will restrict all the unnecessary IP addresses and the unnecessary TCP traffic. So we'll press enter. Okay, so now that is done. Okay, so now we have implemented ACLs on the sales department, but we also need to implement ACLs on the marketing as well as the finance department. And for that, we'll open the Router Chandigarh CLI again. Yeah. So as you can see, like I have already implemented the ACLs on the sales department, and just to save a little bit of more time, I'll copy the codes for the marketing and finance ACLs, and I'll paste it here. Okay. So this is a script that I have created. Okay. So I'll copy these. Yeah, and I'll paste it here. Okay. So now that is done. So we'll just forward the time a little bit. And now what we need to check is that if the sales PC can still access the marketing and the finance server, and according to us, it should not. So we'll first check it for, so we'll first check it if it can access the sales department, and it should. So 192.168.12.2. Go. Okay, so it can successfully access the sales department. Now we'll check if it can access the marketing server and the finance server. So for that we'll put in commands 192.168.22.2. Click on go. Let me just forward the time. So as you can see, the request, it's showing an error that is request timeout. So it cannot access the marketing server. We'll also check if it can access the finance server. So we'll now type in the commands 192.168.32.2 and we'll click on go and just forward the time a little bit. So yeah, again, it cannot access the sales PC cannot access the finance server. So we have successfully implemented our ACLs, and it can be similarly done for these PCs and these PCs as well. So yeah, that's all about the extended ACLs. Thank you so much, sir.